their ears and they give me all the peace I need. I have many little collectors who work for me. Sometimes they squabble over a prize, but who am I to intervene? Have you been to the town just south of here? Such secrets, such lies, such smiles. This land is wide and people walk it all to come and see me. I almost always have some items I'm especially keen to acquire. And this means I pay especially well. All right, what have you found? All right, but it's worth selling these as a set, you know. Well, well, the tea leaves told me it would be a good day. Not a bad find.
you said your prayers. Dear God. Please, stop that now. Oh, Christ. Yes. Oh, shit, no. Christ almighty! I'm putting you down! I hope you said your prayers, scum! Ain't no getting out of this one alive. I'm putting you down! We're gonna whip you scum good! I hope you said your prayers, scum! Ain't no getting out of this one alive. We're gonna whip you scum good. I hope you said your... I'm putting you down! Ain't no getting out of this one alive. I hope you said your prayers, scum! We're gonna whip you scum good! Ain't no getting out of this one
Always
alive.
better when they're alive. Makes it look more ethical, you see. You can count it, or you can trust me. It's all there.
Looking to sell your wares or buy some of the finest meat to ever grace this town?
As if we didn't have enough bodies in town. Drop them off. Reward's yours.
Watch where you're going. Hey, what's your problem?
We're better off leaving it here, okay?
right, who's that skulking about out there? I found him, Sahab! Hey, get out of here, won't you? Now you just think about what you're doing. Holy shite!
Go and tie me right now! Get yourself back here and face me!
God above! Jesus!
A curse on you! Shit!
Come on, damn it!
Come on! Out of the way! Damn!
Sweet Jesus. Still kicking, I see. Well, don't make no difference to me. Got him alive. Good hustle, good hustle. Honest day's work.
Get ready to die. I warned you.
The hell is your problem?
Free fire.
I'ma use this rope to hang you when I break loose. God damn it, always just my luck. Shit, shit! Oh, shit.
Smells like dead meat to me.
Christ almighty! Hellfire!
I'm telling you to meet the...
We're better trained and better armed. You're good as dead.
You'll get yours, you scum!
You're dead! You're dead!
What the
You ain't
dick?
nothing but worm feed.
They're too far ahead of us.
Go to hell!
I got you the one.
You gonna die slow for tying me up like this.
You haven't the discipline to beat us.
You'll get yours, you scum!
They got your place ready in hell.
I'ma use this rope to hang you when I break loose. Lord Almighty. Oh, shit. Damn it. Always just my luck. Go to hell!
Well, what happened here? Put the body out back and I'll rid of your blood money.
Sweet Jesus.
Lord have mercy! Help! Help!
Looking to sell your wares or buy some of the finest meat to ever grace this town? You'll pay.
Fine looking animal you got there, my friend. Come here a minute. Come on. It's a good opportunity. I swear, just come see. I'm willing to let bygones be bygones here. Just by the map. We forget all the unpleasantness from before. Wise choice, my friend. Wise choice.
Well, they done reap what they sowed, huh? I believe you're due a reward.
You gotta have some grit to go do that.
What are you going? Get out of here! Get the hell out!
No, no, to hell! Cut me loose! God damn you, lady! Christ alive! Lord have mercy! You pitiful excuse for a woman.
Always better when they're alive. Makes it look more ethical, you see. That's the bounty, as agreed.
West.
A little dicky bird told me about some supplies coming in on a train, supplies that we desperately need. Now, we could sacrifice our precious capital and buy this stuff, of course, or, well, I think you know what to do. I'm sure Leviticus Cornwall didn't get where he is with hugs and kisses. Just try not to get killed. No messing around, huh?
Hey, good to see you.
This batch is parfait. We can ship it whenever you like. D'accord. Alors, this batch is parfait. Now we must go. But I must warn you, we can afford no mistakes with this. Purity. That is what they are paying the big price for. And that is what Marcel has created, is it not? I have not slept. I have not rested. I have stopped at nothing to create these little jugs of heaven, eh? But now, relax and enjoy your trip.
Wagon nice as that? Sure to
Any requests for the Undertaker?
Doing wagon inspections. Doing routine checks here. Just need to see what's in the wagon. Might as well take a look in the wagon, huh?
real nasty place to make liquor. Or...
Well, what do we have here? Nothing for you here. Move along.
Hey, welcome back. Got anything good for me by any chance? All right, what do you have for me? Fine. Not bad, this. No questions asked. You got a decent eye for these things by the looks of it. Thanks.
Ah, well done. That last project of ours. Hello. Cuisine propre, conscience propre. A good saying, huh? Allons-y. Oh, as you wish. But it can be made to be cheaper, huh? Yes, this is a good flavor. Now, all it needs is some time. By the way, I see we have some fresh customers. À bientôt.
My, it is rare to find anyone worth a damn these days. Nice to see an exception.
Look alive, fellers. Got us a customer. Maybe some of y'all know how this one goes.
You can smell it, huh? The noblest smell in the world.
keen eye out. Trouble in every shadow around here. Hello there.
You're no better than Gus, or the rest of them. You're worse! You've got some nerve! You think that I wouldn't find out? You're no better than that savage Macmillan.
Tupac Shakur's murder. Nick Watt, CNN, Los Angeles.
Happening now, after nearly 30 years, the trial is officially underway for the man accused of orchestrating the 1996 murder of rap legend
Etta
Tupac
Doyle.
Shakur.
Used to be known as Madame La Pearl. She runs a gang of other fallen women, sticking up trains and coaches mostly, but seems to have a particular fancy for robbing Leviticus Cornwall of late. So his men have set a honeypot to lure her in. Tipped her off about a big stash of money and ammunition at Cornwall's freight yard in Saint Denis. Asked if I can send some good bounty hunters their way. Just be careful. They play smart.
CNN is learning that Suge Knight is among the potential witnesses in this case.
Looks like she only sent one.
Okay,
we gotta move fast here. Come on.
Now
the bait's already been set.
Let's bring in CNN legal analyst and former president Joey Jackson. Joey, great to see you as always. First, as we talk about jury selection, talk to us about what both sides are looking for in jurors, noting that the judge granted only partial registration for this.
Wait till they bust in, and then.
Yeah, Bart, it's good to be with you. And so the essence of any jury is that they can be fair and impartial. We know that this is a murder case. No prosecutors are not suggesting
don't worry about
or
her crony.
that
She's the one with the price on her head. They're notorious for dressing alike. So you bide your time, you figure out which one's doing. You'll know for sure when you see her face. Got a big old scar down her right cheek.
Then you're equally as guilty. But before you get down to the factual determinations as to whether or not he intended and engaged in premeditation with regard to this murder, and there's also a gang enhancement to the extent that they're alleging prosecutors that he was involved in a gang at the time, the Crips. What you have to get down to is whether you can select a jury who can hear and be receptive to this evidence. And so the essence of it is jurors will be weeded out by making the determination as to first scheduling, are they available to do the case, do they have any hardships that might keep them away from the case, and then you get to the core issues of, hey, what do you think about celebrity and what do you think about fame? And by the way, have you read the book that Mr. Davis has put out on this particular issue? Have you listened to any podcasts? Have you listened to anything else with respect to what may be in the public domain? And if you have you formalized any opinions that would not make you an effective juror? Last point on that issue. In the event jurors say, hey, you know, I can't be fair, I can't be impartial, I love Tupac, whoever did it, and I think he did, you know, should be held accountable, then you're excused for cause. When that happens, Boris, anyone can be excused for cause if they exhibit that type of bias, and you could do that all day and all night. They're unlimited. And then you get down to, after the for cause challenges, which they just can't sit, each side has 8 peremptory challenges in which you can excuse jurors for any basis whatsoever, as long as it's not predicated upon some racial exclusionary ground. And that's how this will unfold, as they ultimately try to, prosecutors in the defense with the court, select 12 jurors, who will hear this case, and probably about 4 to 6 alternates, because you want those people in place in case the trial goes on, and it's expected to last a couple of months.
Yeah. Joey, given that news we just got about Suge Knight and even Sean Diddy Combs potentially testifying, I remember watching an interview back in the 90s when Suge Knight was asked about this, and he said something to the effect of, I know who killed Tupac, but I'm not a snitch. I'm not going to say anything. Sean Diddy Combs has denied any wrongdoing, any involvement in this incident. Do you think they actually will get called to the stand by the prosecution?
So in the event, Boris, that they get called to the stand, they certainly do not have to be cooperative. I wouldn't expect and anticipate that they would be cooperative. Suge Knight, being the person who was injured, as you noted at the outset, and apparently a bullet grazing his head, you know, he said very colorfully that he doesn't have much to say. I won't repeat what he actually did say in that regard, so I wouldn't suspect that he would say much. I don't think you're going to get anything else from Mr. Combs. And I think, to be clear, the all-star witness here, if you can believe it, the pivotal witness is Mr. Davis himself. And so prosecutors are going to try to string together his prior statements, what's in the public domain about him, in order to build their case by suggesting that he, in fact, gave a confession. Mr. Davis did. Prosecutors will argue as to him being involved in this case, and him knowing all about the case, and him being an actual co-conspirator in this particular case. So that's what the defense is going to be up against.
Yeah. Jury selection begins today for the man charged in Tupac Shakur's 1996 shooting death on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, the prosecution will focus on his 2019 memoir, where they say Davis implicated himself. Davis has pleaded not guilty, and legal experts have said that his defense may try to show that past statements are false.
What he said 30 years ago, got money for war, can't feed the poor. That's still relevant. That's still active, relevant, current statement today, you know, and he has a lot of wisdom in his music.
It's been nearly 30 years since the murder of one of the most influential artists in history, and we're still asking who killed Tupac. Today, jury selection begins in the trial against the only person ever charged in his death, Duane Davis, who goes by the name Keefe D. He's not accused of pulling the trigger, but rather orchestrating the whole thing. Now, he was arrested back in 2023. Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting near the Las Vegas Strip on September 7th, 1996. And Davis is one of the only people still alive who was at the scene of the crime, the other person being Suge Knight. And he's serving a 28-year prison sentence in another case. So today, that moment in history returns to the spotlight.
So what they got you for, man?
Biggest case in Las Vegas history.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like recent?
September 7th, 1996. I ain't worried about it. I ain't care.
So joining me now, former federal prosecutor Elise Adamson. Welcome back. Okay, it's been a long time coming because Keefe D's been running his mouth the entire time. I mean, just to be honest, he's been very candid about what has happened. I want to play an example from when he was talking about this publicly.
You said the shots came from the back. Big Dre, Orlando. Who shot Tupac?
Keep for the cold in the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro. Then out the window like he was in the parade.
Tupac.
Yeah, he was.
So what happens next?
He was kind. I ain't gonna go into details like that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, you got it in a book.
He wrote a book, and then he said a ghostwriter wrote the book, and so he distanced himself from comments there. Is all of this just going to come up in the trial? Like, can they build a timeline based on everything he said publicly?
Oh, Audie, absolutely. This entire trial is brought compliments of the defendant himself, Mr. Davis, because had he not run his mouth, as you just said, and wrote a book and gone on all of these podcasts, the government wouldn't have enough evidence in this case. This entire case, the linchpin of this case, is the defendant's own confession, which was what makes this so interesting, because the prosecution essentially has to prove to the jury that Mr. Davis can be believed, that everything he said can be corroborated, because they really don't have anything else at this point.
One of the things they talked about was him speaking to investigators in, quote, a proffer. You'll probably explain what that is, back in 2008. And in the interview, he said Tupac had assaulted his nephew. And so that Davis says he got his nephew a gun, who then went on to shoot Tupac. And so he basically is talking about a motive and talking about the gunman. And then you mentioned a witness, Suge Knight, but he's behind bars. Can they get Suge on the stand?
Well, they want to get Suge on the stand. He's on the prosecution's witness list, but he's already indicated that he's going to refuse to testify. So we're going to have to see what happens there. The proffer you mentioned, let's talk about that. So a proffer session, usually it's kind of an off-the-record conversation you have with authorities, and what authorities promise in exchange for information is that they're not going to prosecute you for anything you say in that room. But here's the important part, Audie, that Mr. Davis did not understand. That meant they couldn't prosecute him for things he said in that room during that session. People don't typically leave a proffer session and then write a tell-all book. And so he opened the door, that is something we say in trial, to all of this by then writing the book. And actually now they fought in court. Some of what he said in the proffer section might come out in the trial. So it's seeing the light of day.
So the minute he started to talk more, everything he said in that room became like, well, wait a second, we got to double check, and now you can say it out loud.
That's right.
Nearly 30 years after one of hip-hop's most influential artists was killed, the long-awaited trial for the murder of Tupac Shakur is finally getting underway, with jury selection beginning today. Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas in 1996 at the height of his career. Duane Keefe D. Davis is the only person ever charged in connection with his death. He was pleaded not guilty to one count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon. Davis is not accused, though, of pulling the trigger. Rather, prosecutors say he helped orchestrate the shooting. Tupac Shakur was riding in a BMW with Death Row Records co-founder Suge Knight when a white Cadillac pulled up alongside them and opened fire. Knight is on the prosecution's witness list and could be called to testify. Davis was arrested in 2023. Joining me now, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson. There's a lot going on with this case because Dwayne Keefe D, that was his nickname, Davis, has said during police interviews and in a 2019 memoir that he was in the car during this time and admitted that he helped plan this thing. So he's pleaded not guilty, saying, what I said then is not what I said now. But the police also got statements from him, and they gave him immunity, saying, all right, we won't prosecute you, but you got to tell us what's going on. So give us some sense of how all this might be used in the case.
Yeah, Sarah, good morning to you. And that's going to be compelling. How many times have we had discussions about defendants and whether they'll testify? Right. He's going to testify. What I mean by that is he won't testify as a criminal defendant, but you're going to hear chapter and verse from him. How? It goes to what you were asking. Number one, you're going to hear this 2008 statement that he made to police. Now, this was what's called a proffer session. What does that mean? It means you're given immunity, and police say, hey, come in and you'll talk to us, and nothing you say will ever be used against you. At the time, he was facing a federal drug charge that could have put him in jail for life. So he told everything with respect to what he knew. He talked about his nephew. He talked about, apparently, the fight that his nephew had with Tupac earlier at the hotel. He talked about the whole drive up and how he was in the front seat as a passenger and his nephew was in the back seat. He handed him the gun after he procured the gun. His nephew pulled the trigger. He told him everything. Now, that wasn't supposed to go anywhere with regard to being used against him later on. How does it come in, Sarah? It comes in because he has been out there after that 2008 interview talking about it, right? He's been there were podcasts about it. He's been talking to the media about it. He wrote a book about it. So the judge said, hey, defense, you want this out? I'm letting it in. Your client effectively waived that. Now, that's not the end of the story, though, because the defense is going to argue that that's puffery. He was built into this 2008 story. There was rumor out there about the fact that he was talking. He figured he'd get notoriety. He'd sell some books on it. This is not what he really did. It was bravado. It's complete fabrication. And that's what the defense will say in order to make that statement not as apparent and lively and credible to the jury, because if they believe it, he may have some problems.
I'm going to have you put on your sort of 90s hat, 90s kid hat, as well as your attorney hat. Give us some sense of the significance of this case, because for 30 years, people have been talking about this case, the rumors surrounding this case. This was part of the East Coast, West Coast feud. Right. And this sort of culminated in the death of Tupac Shakur, who was, at the time, the most famous rapper perhaps in the country or the world. And to this day, there are still bad feelings and rumors about exactly who was involved in all this.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And, to think about the fact that 30 years later, here we are, and just blocks away from where he was murdered, trial is taking place. Yeah. And so, yes, I think that there's going to be, questioning of the jury with respect to what they knew about the 90s, how they felt about Tupac, right? Whether they have any biases associated with that, because it's been a long time coming. And so the fact is that when you get a rapper of this notoriety at the time who's gone, could there be people who just want accountability? All that will be vetted through the jury. However, when you look and examine it, right, we go back to the fact that you had this statement, so we finally get justice for Tupac. The defense is going to argue, where's your murder weapon? Where's the Cadillac I was in, right? They're going to make arguments as to where are the other witnesses? Where's your DNA evidence? Where are your forensics? And so it's going to be a true battle between the two. And I think the way you get to a right place is by vetting the jury to ask them questions about the 90s, to ask them questions about their feelings, to ask them about their biases. So when you impanel a jury of 12 and multiple alternates, you can get people who can assess the case based upon the facts and nothing but the facts, so help you. Raise your right hand. That's right.
We will wait and see, but this is going to be widely watched because there are still films being made about what happened in 1996 to Tupac Shakur and who was really behind it. We may never know, but this might tell us some details. Thank you so much, Joey Jackson. It's good to see you. Thank you, Nearly 30 years after one of hip-hop's most influential artists was killed, the long-awaited trial for the murder of Tupac Shakur finally getting underway today with jury selection. Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas in 1996 at the height of his career. Duane Davis is the only person that's ever been charged in connection with his death. He has pleaded not guilty to 1 count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon. Davis is not accused of being the person who actually pulled the trigger. Rather, prosecutors say he helped orchestrate the shooting. I spoke with Tupac Shakur's stepbrother about how he feels going into this trial. Do you think that Tupac's murder has finally been solved?
Almost.
We're
almost there.
Why do you say that?
Well, the guy said he did it. He said he did it. Rhodey did it, or was part of what happened there. And now he's saying he didn't. So we'll see in court. I don't know.
Our Nick Watt is watching all of this and gives us a sense of what we can expect from the trial.
Hey Keith, Metro Police, come over here.
Duane Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keefy D, was arrested 3 years ago.
So what they got you for, man?
Biggest case in Vegas history.
Oh yeah?
Shooting, killing Tupac Shakur at a stoplight in Vegas late one night after a Mike Tyson fight nearly 30 years ago. Back then, many thought Tupac's death was down to the East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry that had flared up in the early 90s. Just 3 months before he was killed, Tupac released Hit 'Em Up, dissing and threatening his friend turned rival Biggie Smalls and other East Coast rappers.
West side, when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player, but I your wife. We bust on bad boys.
6 months after Tupac, no one has ever been charged with his murder. But here's what prosecutors will argue at Keefy D's trial that starts this week, detailed by a homicide detective just after Duane Davis, Keefy D's, arrest.
As we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Duane Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips.
Members of both gangs were, say police, at the Tyson fight in the MGM Grand that night. And afterwards, in the lobby, Tupac, Knight, and others spotted Keefy D's nephew, Orlando Anderson, and beat him up.
Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur. Duane Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson.
Anderson, his uncle Keefy D, and 2 other men allegedly got into a white Cadillac and followed Knight and Tupac, who were in a black BMW en route to a club. Investigators allege it was Anderson who actually pulled the trigger.
Were you involved in any way in the death of Tupac Shakur?
No, I was not involved.
Anderson was shot and killed 8 months after that interview with CNN. Keefy D is the only man who was in that white Cadillac who is still alive. He's now 63. No one says he pulled the trigger, but he was, they say, the shot caller. And under Nevada law, he can still be charged with murder.
Within the first few months of the investigation, our detectives knew most of the information I just briefed you on. However, we never had the necessary evidence to bring this case forward.
His own words, say investigators, were Keefy D's undoing.
Specifically, Duane Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets.
He described the moment, he says, he handed Anderson, who he calls Lane, a gun while riding in the white Cadillac. It's in audio featured in the documentary Murder Rap, inside the Biggie and Tupac murders.
I gave it to Dre, and Dre was like, no. And Lane's like, you, barbecue.
But in July, Keefy D denied being involved in the killings, telling a Las Vegas news station he wasn't even in Nevada when Tupac was killed. Suge Knight is also still alive, right now serving 28 years for manslaughter in an unrelated case. He's on the prosecution's witness list.
I ain't worried about I ain't
Well, I mean, that's what court's for, right?
Tupac died 6 days after he was shot. And now, nearly 30 years later, Keefe D gets his day in court.
Nick Watt, CNN, Los Angeles.
The long-awaited and much talked about trial for the murder of Tupac Shakur is finally getting underway in a Las Vegas courtroom. Jury selection set to begin this morning in just a bit of time here. Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas nearly 30 years ago at the height of his career. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is the only person ever charged in connection with his death. He has pleaded not guilty to 1 count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon. Now, Davis, who was arrested in 2023, is not actually being accused of pulling the trigger. He's not considered the gunman. Rather, prosecutors say he helped orchestrate the shooting, providing the gun to the gunman. Davis, as we mentioned, pleading not guilty now.
So what they got you for, man?
biggest case in Las Vegas history.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like recent?
September the 7th, 1996. I ain't worried about it. I ain't doing shit.
Joining me now, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson. That is one of the examples, before we get into this, one of the examples is whatever you say to the police can be recorded and used against you if you're read your Fifth Amendment rights. But before all that, they can use this if they wanted to, right?
Oh, without question, Sarah. Good morning to you. And interestingly enough, in this case, he is the best witness. He is the star witness in the case. Why? Because of the various statements that he's made regarding the case. You know, it's going to turn a lot on this 2008 proffer session that he had with law enforcement. Right. What is a proffer session? You usually go into those and law enforcement asks you questions, prosecutors do, and it doesn't see the light of day. You're given immunity. But in this instance, the argument is that he waived that immunity because he's made so many public statements with regard to his involvement, not only on podcasts and other areas of media. He's written a book with regard to that. And so the defense said, no, we don't want to let this in. But the judge said it can be let in and it will be let in. And it's important, Sarah, because what he said to the police, they're going to argue, prosecutors, that it corroborates his involvement and it corroborates his guilt. And as you noted at the outset, they didn't say he pulled the trigger, but you don't have to establish that, just that you aided, you abetted, you counseled, you encouraged, and that's what they're saying he did here.
And look, the other people who were under suspicion by police, one of whom was his relative, have all passed away. He is the only person sort of left in this scenario who's accused of being there that day and taking part in all this. I do want to ask you about the bigness of this case, because he is not wrong that this is one of the biggest cases ever in Las Vegas, because of who was killed and because of all of the rumors around who was responsible. There was this big feud going on between East and West Coast rappers, and that has just taken on a life of its own. Finding these 12 jurors, especially if they're of a certain age, they would know about this case. How difficult do you think that will be?
So always challenging, but certainly there are mechanisms in place for that. And what are those mechanisms? Remember, Sarah, that you can challenge. They'll probably get, I'm thinking, you need 12 jurors, of course, to sit in the box, but they'll likely get between 4 and 6 alternates in case someone gets sick. So when you're picking a jury, what happens is you're asking them questions. Do you know about the case? Do you have any opinions about the case? Do you know who Tupac was? Did you really admire him as a rapper? Do you think someone should be held accountable, even if the evidence doesn't establish it? You're going to ask all those questions. But when you're actually picking a jury, if a juror says they're biased, you can excuse them. It's called excusing for cause, and that's unlimited. But then there are these other challenges called peremptory challenges, in the weeds a little bit, but each side gets 8 of those, and you could excuse someone for any reason or no reason, as long as it's not predicated upon some type of racial reason, etc., for which you're excusing them. And so therefore, yes, of course, it'll be a challenge. I think they could get it done, because the main question is, even if you heard about the case, can you base a decision on the facts and the evidence or the circumstances in the courtroom, not what you read in the paper or saw anywhere else? So it's on, and it starts today.
Lastly, this happened almost 30 years ago. How difficult is it to bring a case like this with the idea that there is a book out there published by the person on trial, and there's a lot of comments, which a lot of people say, well, that's the reason why this has happened in the first place, because Dwayne KVD kept talking about it.
Yeah, so I think it's very challenging, right? I know we're in a day and age, certainly, where there are cold cases, and that's why there's no statute of limitations on murder. You can bring it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, like here, or even more. And I think from a defense perspective, they're going to argue you don't have a weapon, you don't have the car, ballistics wasn't done on that, there's no forensics, there's no DNA, there are no living witnesses. What are we doing here? But remember, we'll end where we began, the statements of KVD. That's what we're doing here, we'll say prosecutors, and if those statements are credited and believed, then the defense has a problem. In the event that that's all they got, which the defense will argue, then that creates another story, perhaps reasonable doubt.
The judge letting it in because he kept talking about it. As people say in the streets, talking smack. And then this ends up being part of his case. It'll be interesting to see if he himself testifies, because in some ways he's already testifying with the words that he has already used in public, right?
Exactly.
There is
he
a lot.
says he's not going to testify, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Well, today, jury selection resumes in the murder trial of Dwayne "Keefe" Davis, with this, of course, proceeding, the man accused of killing rapper Tupac Shakur nearly 30 years ago comes back into focus. And Davis is the first and only person ever charged in Shakur's fatal shooting. He's pleaded not guilty, but prosecutors say some of their strongest evidence may be his own words. They argue that Davis implicated himself through his memoir and by discussing the events of that night in media interviews. Back in 2009, Davis told police he had a role in Tupac's killing, but he wasn't charged because that interview was part of a deal preventing his statements from being used against him. Prosecutors say that protection no longer applies since Davis later repeated many of those statements publicly. Death Row Records executive Marion Suge Knight and Sean Diddy Combs are both potential witnesses for the prosecution. Tupac's killing has remained one of the most high-profile unsolved mysteries for decades. Opening statements are expected to begin next week.
Jury selection will resume Tuesday on the murder trial of Dwayne Davis, the man accused of killing rapper Tupac Shakur nearly 30 years ago. Davis is the first and only person ever charged in the rapper's fatal shooting. He has pleaded not guilty. Tupac's killing has remained one of the most high-profile unsolved mysteries for decades. But prosecutors say Davis's own words may be just the evidence they need to prove him guilty. CNN's Nick Watt reports.
Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here.
KVD was arrested 3 years ago.
So what they got you for, man?
Oh man, biggest case in Las Vegas history.
Oh yeah?
The shooting, the killing of Tupac Shakur at a stoplight in Vegas late one night after a Mike Tyson fight nearly 30 years ago. Here's what prosecutors will argue, detailed by a homicide detective just after Dwayne Davis, KVD's arrest.
As we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips.
Members of both gangs were, say police, at the Tyson fight in the MGM Grand that night, and afterwards, in the lobby, Tupac, Knight, and others spotted KVD's nephew, Orlando Anderson, and beat him up.
Dwayne Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur.
Anderson, his uncle KVD, and two other men allegedly got into a white Cadillac and followed Knight and Tupac, who were in a black BMW en route to a club. Unclear exactly who pulled the trigger. Some have said it was Anderson. KVD